Should you forgive a narcissist? Hey guys, if you don't know who I am, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this platform to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change to people out there. I do it in two different ways, in talking with people that are abuse survivors and talking to people who have narcissistic traits. I wanted to come on here today because someone asked a question a little bit ago that said, wait a second, you were forgiven by your wife, you're in that relationship, why do you tell other people to not forgive, or why do you tell other people to leave? So I wanted to kind of clarify a little bit and wanted to talk to you a little bit about forgiveness and what that actually looks like. I think one of the things that people get confused about is through Christianity, through upbringing, through childhood development, different things like that. They start to think that forgiveness means that everybody needs to forgive and to forget, that everything is just washed over, everything's cleaned up, everything's nice and dandy, and we can just move on. That's not always the case. Forgiveness doesn't mean you just forget everything that happened, and it doesn't mean that you wipe away everything that person has done wrong. There's times when people give forgiveness, or there's times when people forgive, but that doesn't mean you have to get back with another person. It doesn't even mean you have to be friends with another person at all. One of the quotes that my wife has said, coming from a couple of books that she's read, that she said, forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. What that means is if you forgive that person, it doesn't mean you have to get back together, that you have to communicate, that you have to talk, that you have to see, that you have to be with, anything like that. It doesn't mean that. Forgiveness a lot of times is for you. And just like closure is for you. A lot of people stress about the idea of how do I get closure? How do I, end up making sense of the entire relationship? I'll do it when he admits it. I'll do it when she shows me. I'll do it when I have proof. And they look for this all type of closure when closure ultimately comes from you. Same thing with forgiveness. Forgiveness comes from you. But it doesn't mean that you have to go to the place that you're back with an abuser, or you're back with someone who doesn't deserve that, or doesn't deserve to be given a second chance. So when you think about forgiveness, I'm on this platform to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. There's no aspect of hope on there. I'm not on here to say, hey, stay with your abuser, or stay with this person, or forgive and forget. I'm not on this channel or any of the channels out there saying that type of stuff or communicating that type of stuff, because what I try to communicate is just based on the facts, and it's based on the behaviors, and it's based on the situation and how it plays out on a day-to-day basis. So if you're with a person and they're cheating on you, that is an action. That is a fact. That is something that is happening in that moment that you're like, hey, this is happening. It's showing me that this person does not appreciate, respect, love, or have any type of commitment to the relationship because they're stepping out on it. Other aspects of how does a narcissist or the person that you're with, how do they actually demonstrate love? Well, how do they show that they like you? How do they show, ask them, what are some of the reasons why you love me? And a lot of times you'll be surprised by the response, because a lot of times it's very superficial and there's nothing deep. Because remember, with a narcissist, you normally don't get very deep. Often it's very surface level. So when you're thinking about the aspect of wait a second, he got forgiven, he's in his relationship, maybe we should forgive our narcissist. The difference there is going to be honest vulnerability and consistent change. A lot of times people ask about staying with a narcissist, about staying with, the person that they're with that they think is toxic or has toxic traits. And the thing you have to remember is you don't stay with someone for potential, and you don't stay with someone for hope. So if you're in a relationship and you're getting abused emotionally, mentally, physically, sexually, whatever it might be, there's not a moment there that I'm ever saying to people, stay in that relationship. If anything, I'm saying if you're being abused, leave. Because unless the other person in your life, the toxic person, is showing active change, okay, so a narcissist can show a change for a period of time, but consistent change over a period of time showing that, hey, they're trying to put in the work and they're doing the work. They're not just saying, oh, I'm trying, or oh, I'm going to get to therapy, or I'm thinking about it, or I'm trying to schedule therapy, I just haven't made it yet, all this type of stuff. They'll always lead you on future faking and thinking a little bit longer, a little bit longer. But what changes are they making on a day-to-day basis? How are they getting honest and vulnerable on a day-to-day basis? How is that increasing the level of communication in the relationship? You see, I don't believe that someone should just forgive a narcissist and stay with them. I believe there's an option to forgive that person, but that doesn't mean that you're locked into that relationship. What that means is you're done with any guilt, ill will, anything like that, and you're able to move on peacefully. You're able to move on and find that peace with yourself. You're able to move on and say, hey, regardless of what happened, regardless of what I allowed or what this person did or how I had reactive abuse, regardless of everything that happened, I can now move on and live a clean, healthy life. And a lot of times people want to say, like, wait a second, like, let's forgive them, let's love them more, like maybe they just need love, they just need that safety. That's great. But you don't stay with someone who's being abusive. You don't stay with someone who's not valuing you, who's not respecting you, who's not caring about the relationship, about the people in the relationship, about the kids, about the family structure, like everything like that. So when you think about it, I'm not saying forgive your narcissist. I'm not saying don't forgive your narcissist. What I'm saying is you need to make sure that you're living a healthy, stable life. And a lot of times you can't do that with a toxic person that shows no desire, no capability, and no reality of change. So when you look at my life and you're like, wait a second, like his wife forgave him, maybe I should forgive my narcissist. Let me tell you this, forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. You see, there's an aspect then when we were separated and my wife got to the place where she forgave me, but that didn't make her come back. Her coming back was dependent on my work, depending on what I was doing, depending on how I was changing and growing and developing myself in therapy, working on myself, working through the Warrior program, working through stacking, working through all the different tools that I work on trying to help and teach people on a day-to-day basis. And she was able to see, hey, whether I'm in the picture or I'm not in the picture, he's still working on his change. He's still working on his growth. Let me ask you this. When you take the relationship off the table, does your narcissist continue to change? The majority of time, the answer to that question is no. They don't continue to change. They don't continue to try. They go find someone else. They call up their buddy. They call up the next girl. They call up a stripper. Whatever it might be, they go to the next person. And they go to that person because a lot of times they already have that person lined up. They've already set the groundwork for that next relationship, for the next person they're going to go to, for the next person that they've already been communicating about how hard their relationship is currently with you, of how hard that relationship is and how they're the victim in that. So a lot of times you'll see them run away and go to someone else because they can't stand being alone and having to sit in the shit saying, hey, this is my responsibility, this is my accountability, this is what I've done, and these are the consequences of my actions. Narcissists don't want to admit that. They don't want to be honest, they don't want to be vulnerable, and they don't want to change consistently. So if you're with a person, if you're with a toxic person, and you're wondering, hey, should I stay? Should I go? Take a look at the actions. What has been the repetition of behaviors, the repetition of actions that you've seen over the past 6 months, over the past year, 2 years? Because sometimes you get to the end of a relationship and a narcissist will try to change, like last second. And that change will be superficial and will be short-lived, but that change will keep you longer. There's so many people that said, I wish I would have left the first time. But oftentimes in abusive relationships, people don't leave till the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th time. Because it takes that long because the other person is constantly manipulating the situation and trying to pull them back to them consistently. So when you think about it, should you forgive your narcissist? That's up to you, because that has to do with your closure, your healing, your growth. But at the end of the day, if you forgive them, doesn't mean you need to be with them. It doesn't mean you need to be with an abusive person. What it means is if that person's abusive, you need to get out and you need to take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, everything. Because you need to make sure that you're healthy, that you're straight, that you're clear on where you're going, your vision, your values, the people that you want in your life that are going to help you grow and change and develop to be the best person you can be. I hope you take a look at your life and you focus on that. If you'd like to talk sometime, I would love to talk to you one-on-one. I meet with people every single day in one-on-ones and coaching sessions to be able to try to help people break free from the trauma bond that holds them fast to a narcissist, to a sociopath, psychopath, whatever, a toxic person that holds them with a cognitive dissonance, with hope, with potential, with thinking maybe they'll change. And they get stuck going back to this person over and over and over, and it feels like you're going crazy. Of like, mentally I know I shouldn't be with this person, but emotionally and my feelings, I just want to be with them. I work with people on a day-to-day basis of how to break free from that and how to detox from the narcissist and find clarity and vision and values and to keep moving ahead. If you don't follow on any of the platforms, I've got Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, obviously, and TikTok. Would love to have you drop on there. We've got small nuggets of truth that are dropping every single day. If you haven't downloaded the NARC app, NARC, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. If you haven't downloaded the NARC app, there's going to be some exclusives coming out in the app of ways to be able to book, discounts, and also live events and Zoom events that are going to be held for people in that community. It's a community of like-minded people that are focused on developing themselves and growing and educating themselves on narcissism and learning how to grow and develop past all the trauma they've been through. Hope to see you there. Check it out.